Today we're going to be talking about monsters that would be fascinating, fun, a blast to experience in a game. Video game, board game, whatever game. Monsterite Elite here said the first one would be Aazotl. Now, Aazotl is a South American monster.
I'm seeing rat. I approve.
It is a very mammalian-looking creature. It has fur. It has hands on all four legs, but they are more positioned like legs. The head is as you see it. The tail has a hand at the end of it. It likes to live in little bogs and ponds and go underwater. And what it does is it'll grab a victim, pull it underwater, and you know what its delicacy is?
I'm going to guess liver.
Okay, so its delicacy is eyeballs. It loves to eat the eyeballs of its victim. And that would be fun to experience in a video game, again, because of its tactics to kind of hide underwater and then to grab the victim. Let's see what else JMPF said here. I think rock. Yes, that's a good one. We have all these big dragons and stuff. Why not a rock? And not just serving to fight you, but a rock would be a great airplane. Medieval airplane. It's so big. So rocks, ROC, big predatory bird, usually predatory type of bird. Big enough to carry an elephant in flight. So that's pretty strong. That's pretty big. I think rock would be an awesome vehicle. And that's what JMPF says. And a challenge to train as well, for sure. Good one, JMPF. Not enough rocks, if any, in video games. A chupacabra may not be that epic, but probably something nice to collect. Oh, like a Pokemon type of game situation. Yeah, that'd be a cool idea to make a Pokemon style collecting game where you're killing and collecting cryptids because they're so rare. So it's such a big deal to have that trophy. So you got Chupacabra, Bigfoot, aliens, ghost plasma or whatever. That'd be a cool idea. Before he mentioned Aazotl, this guy, and he mentioned, it's eyeballs and teeth. So that's the delicacy, that hard cartilage. I wonder what kind of rise it gets from chewing on human teeth. That's wild. Again, the fun of exploring anatomy of creatures that don't exist because we gather notes like what it would eat in the lore, right? So we know that Aazotl eats teeth. So what does that teach us about this mythological creature? That it must have very powerful teeth, unless it chews them up and it's all teeth break up and then it just has a gummy mouth, and that's why it likes to eat eyeballs, because now it doesn't have teeth to chew, so swallowing eyeballs is its way to go. That's the fun of exploring things that don't exist with our knowledge of things that do exist.
Maybe it's the only means of creating chips that the thing has found. So, because teeth crunch, all nice and neat.
Mm-hmm. Let's jump into Kriss. Let's see if he has anything to share on the topic of monsters he'd like to experience in a game, and then I'll do mine.
Well, what I would personally be interested in seeing is a bit what our friend here in the chat, I believe it was Matthew. Yes, Matthew mentioned earlier, more so a genetic monstrosity or simply a xenomorph, where you have a creature that can evolve and is let loose inside a place with a lot of people, but also other different critters that have different abilities, which if it devours, it gains their abilities. So you essentially have a build your own monster type of deal, going bump in the dark and trying to escape so it can do very, very bad things outside of a contained environment.
Let's see, Dandy's still going. As for the other one to go, that would be nice to see as well. But the more Native American version my friend shared me once, to which it's a skeletal being of a human built. But it is so thin, you can only see it when you face it in the front. I am very happy you mentioned that Wendigo. Yes, there is the Wendigo in mythology. You can only see it from the front or back. When you look at it from the side, you just can't see it. It's like too thin. It's just like an optical illusion or monstrous illusion. And I was thinking about that one quite often when I was thinking about what monster in a video game, because it reminds me of Slender Man and why those video games got big. It's a similar kind of thing. Like you turn around, you see it there, but then from the side you don't, and it's even next to you, but because you're looking at it from the side, gameplay mechanics would have to work out with this somehow. But exactly that kind of horror game, as you mentioned, would very much work out with the Wendigo, as you mentioned it. So nice shout out to that, Master Dandy. So I'm going to start with my first share here. I was thinking, what monster because of complex abilities that it has? So the first one that hit me was the Hydra. The whole point is when you cut its head off, 2 heads regrow, and that keeps repeating, which is now the reason why I brought this up. Also, it has acid blood, which tends to be forgotten, which makes this a very devastating creature. Let me show you a video of a video game of this creature in action, because it has been in the video game. But I want to see it done in a video game just better. So in the video game Dragon's Dogma, we see one of the best Hydras I have ever seen in the video game. Okay, so he's gonna cut off the head. Oh, there it goes. And
Ooh, that's tasty.
it's tasty, but the problem with that one, and why I am mentioning now that I would like to see a Hydra in a game, is because you cut off the head and a head regrew. What is wrong with that picture? 1 head regrew.
Only
I
one
would
head.
like to see it more mythologically correct. Although the graphics here are very good. This is like 11-year-old game or something. It's actually very spicy. I would like to see it sprout out the 2 heads when you cut off 1. And I would like to see that continue. And I think that would make a fun gameplay kind of lore and community aspect, because if you cut off that head and 2 appear, and then you do it again and 2 more appear, you're going to get a lot of heads. That gets pretty complex and difficult to handle in a game. With technology now, we can handle that to a pretty high number of heads. So I think what would be cool if we had a Hydra in a game, and it becomes like a kind of legend between gamers, where there's so many heads that appear that we haven't hit the limit yet, because either we kill off the monster too early or we die too early. And I think it'd be cool to have that one gamer in a stream that like hit the new limit of heads. And he's like, wow, so the limit is 98 heads. I cut off the next one and a new one didn't regrow. So I know that the programmers set this limit of heads. I think that'd just be a kind of fun little...
That'd be actually unironically great.
And again, it's
I
nothing
now
new.
want. I can now imagine, if you excuse my random streamer job, and I can see Asmongold trying to go after it. Just the molding where he gets to like the 36th set of heads, and suddenly he misses one, and it naps his character in the side. And he's like, "Ah, shit, dude."
Exactly. Yep.
Yes, that is an unironically fantastic idea. Thank you for bringing it up.
Then another quick thought that hit me, just a cool monster. Again, just because it's cool, but then I was thinking, what does it do that would make it fascinating in a game to experience? And that is the Manticore. Traditionally or mythologically, when we look at it, the Manticore has a human face and the body of a lion and tail of a scorpion. Somewhat. That's unclear. Those back in the day, that's how things would be described, just in relation to creatures and body parts we know. Some features of the Manticore: it has spines. It has rows of teeth. Now, these pictures that I'm showing thus far, they all have winged Manticore. And actually, no, Manticore don't traditionally have wings. They're more so like this.
It's a very big mouth it has there.
Yes, and you see the teeth, and you see the humanish face. Okay, so this is where I would think it would be cool to see this monster in a video game, because it's just a cool-looking monster, 1. But number 2, its abilities. First of all, it has a human face. But what it does with the human face, it has a human voice that it uses to lure victims so that it can then attack and kill, and probably eat. So you can imagine this Manticore, you're like you're playing Witcher, right? And you're running through the forest and you hear a lady in distress and you run there, or a child or a man screaming, help, help. And so you do run in that game because you hear that and it sounds like a real person and you haven't experienced anything yet in the game that mean that it wouldn't be. So you run in that direction and immediately you're pounced by this creature. Now, the immersion in the game of what it just did to you would quickly subside and leave if you just started fighting the creature and you're fighting this Manticore. But let's say you're fighting it and that help, help, or the scream of a lady keeps being emitted from its mouth as it's fighting you. That's just like, oh crap. So then you really realize, okay, so there wasn't any girl. This isn't some game mechanic that got forgotten. It was this thing making this noise that just pounced on me, and it just makes it look more creepier looking at this beast with this weak voice coming out of it. I think that'd be a cool experience. And number 2, because it has shooting poisonous spikes. They shoot from its tail. Manticore is a pretty deadly cool monster if you think about it in mythology. So there you go. And I have made a video on this in depth years ago. So the next one that I wanted to mention is Predator. How I would like to experience the Predator is it's basically you're fighting this one predator just like the first movies were. So in the first phase of the game, you're fighting it and you see its health go down and then it escapes you somehow. So in that phase of the game where you're not fighting it, you're preparing, you're finding weaponry, you're building stuff. Let's say the first one is in the wild, in the jungle. So now you're preparing booby traps. You have that moment. And its health only goes up a little bit next time you see it. But every time you see it again, it's going to be lower as much as you heard it last time. So it's all a boss battler, but with only one boss in those times when you're not fighting, preparing to fight it again, and then you beat the game when you finally kill it. And it's very reminiscent of the movies. It can even follow the movies. So that's part one. So let's say the second game is like the second movie, and now you're in the city. You have to deal with the predator and hurt him as much as you can, and then you deal with the politics, being a cop or whatever you are, on your off time with the fighting the predator and the other realities, or maybe you're dealing with gangsters or other things in the game, but not so game-like where you just run through things, kill people, kill predators, but you have this preparation phase and these other conflicts you deal with. And then every once in a while, he comes back and you have this big brawl with him with all the stuff you've prepared. I think that would be a cool way to experience the predator and not just make them predators, but make it count. It's a damn predator. That's a tough thing.
Precisely.
The next one I would like to mention are burrowing monsters. We get to see things that, you're walking around or even in MMOs and they pop out and it starts attacking you. But when it goes back underground, where's that hole? Where's that hole in the ground that it left, that it burrows through, that it lives in? I think it would be cool if those holes were left and then you get to explore those holes. You can make these tunnels randomly generated in the game. So you go through here and then you meet that monster again and then you find a way back up above ground and you explore more holes. The cool thing with this feature is that it could even be cool in a MMO atmosphere because it'd be programmable well enough. Probably not be random generated, but then other people can get in there, and once you're out, that has a time limit. Those tunnels disappear after the monster's killed. But I think it'd be cool to explore tunneling monsters where you can actually explore the tunnels they've been in. For my other one, I was thinking troll. Because troll. I forgot what the hashtag was. But hashtag
Troll.
Arthur Troll. Something like that. That was JMPF that mentioned that. You right
we see
there.
JMPF glaring at us.
Yeah. He sure is. Trolls have a day and night phase. Depends on the lore, but this is mythologically more so. They turn to stone. That would be an awesome survival gameplay. The trolls would be out, moving about, and hunting you, and you hunting them. But during the day, because they are stone, they would give you that time to prepare. So now you're preparing different weapons, kind of like with that predator fight I was talking about. So you're doing everything to prepare for nighttime, either to stay and survive or to deal with the troll. That's what I think would be cool with having trolls in a game. I'm going to shout out the movie Troll Hunter that did this great. Trolls have so much variety to them. Why I love them. I can do a whole video, a whole monster cast on trolls. So you had this giant one. You had a three-headed one. You had another kind of hulking under bridge troll. And then you got these. Who can shout out where this is from? Again, a different take on trolls. And then finally, I'm going to leave it off with, look at this, the Skyrim troll. They did a whole different thing again.
To this day, I still remember, and I will always remember, the very first time I played Skyrim, the very first time I was climbing up to the Temple of the Greybeards, and this exact mother trucker ambushes me right at the top of the mountain. To the developers who put it there, excellent place to put it. It did its job fantastically. Screw you, though.
All right. Yep. Love the monster. And you know what? When I was looking at different images for trolls and all that, this came by, and I just had to save it and share it. It's a prop sold on eBay because you know what? You gotta love critters, which by the way would be another monster that would be awesome to deal with in a video game. They shoot their spikes, they turn into balls that just go everywhere, and they can combine together to make one huge ball that just eats everything it goes over. My last one is going to be, I don't have a good picture for it because that's the point. Unfathomable creatures, something that you can't imagine, which is very Lovecraftian if you think about that. That's the inspiration too, because a lot of the Lovecraftian or some of the deities there, the more powerful epic monsters in that universe, have no fathomable appearance because anybody that has lived to see it and to survive and to describe it. It's indescribable. Everything we describe it from relationships of things we have seen in the past. When they described a manticore a long time ago, they describe it lion body, scorpion tail, head of a human. But in reality, it doesn't look like that. It's like a mix of those things, but you're describing it in relationship to the things you know. So, how would we portray a monster that we can't describe, that is beyond words?
Tentacles and teeth for eyes.
And that's that okay, we shout out to him again. He is great. You can go now. That's what basically all you can find. That's what a lot of Lovecraftian monsters are shown as online, because that's the best way you can do it. It's described like that in the poetry. It's just a bunch of eyes, teeth, and tentacles. So it could be like that. So something like this, or we
You
got
can
another
never go
one.
wrong with eyes, teeth, and tentacles.
You can't. One of my favorite horror games was Call of Cthulhu back in the day on Xbox. And it did have that. And I love that game because it's a dark ending, which I always love in horror. And you just kind of go insane. And yeah, that's what happens. When you look at it, you lose your mind. So what is it? What does it look like? And how do you do it? Put a bunch of mixed images and then you start going insane when you look too long. Again, that's the Slender Man thing, where you look at him, you start going insane, right? So they tried to do it. What other attempts? How else could it be done? So a huge thank you to our top supporters, our top patron supporters, who get this name shout out at the end. And that's Tammy Osborne, who's been with us a long time, Rita Miller, and Cloud Lamberts, who has also been here since that journey kind of started. So thank you very much. And to all the rest of the patrons, and to all the rest of you that are actually watching now and hitting that like or chatting, just enjoying this. It's great to have like-minded minds all about. Kriss, anything else you want to release to this world from your heart?
Blood-curdling screams probably won't be a good idea. If we are wrapping up, then all I wish to say to all of you, like, once again, thank you very much for your continued dedication and support. We cherish every moment, every bit of bile that you lend onto us, and we hope to continue entertaining you.
Thank you for participating. It's been a great show. It's been fun talking to you guys. I hope we did our parts to the greatest of your amusement, and I'll see all of you later.